For The First Steps is the third MCU movie to release in theaters in 2025. The film's directed by Matt Shakman, who came off directing all 9 episodes of the first Disney Plus Marvel show, WandaVision, back in 2020. This film brings us our introduction to Marvel's first family: Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic; Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman; Eben Moss-Bachrach as Ben Grimm, or The Thing, as well as Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, who's played by Joseph Quinn. In this movie, this takes place 3 years after the characters get their powers. This really is no origin story. The Fantastic Four are the saviors of Earth 828, this retro futuristic world, which is not the same universe as the main Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this film, Silver Surfer, who's played by Julia Garner, comes to this Earth and warns them that their planet is doomed to be devoured by Galactus, who's played by Ralph Ineson. So the family has to make in order sacrifices and make sure that their Earth is protected at all costs. Also in the movie is Natasha Lyonne as Rachel, someone who lives in the area where Ben Grimm grew up, who they have kind of a dynamic. And Paul Walter Hauser is also in the movie as Mole Man, someone who also goes up against Reed multiple times. The film is an hour and 55 minutes and is PG-13. Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new movie review here on Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Dinenberg. I'm talking Fantastic Four: The First Steps. If you're new to the channel, guys, please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you're notified when my new videos hit the channel. Also, please comment down below. What are your thoughts on the Fantastic Four: First Steps? Did you like this movie? Not like this movie? If you have not seen it yet, do you have superhero fatigue? Are you done with Marvel? Let me know where your stance is. Again, don't go into spoilers, because literally tomorrow I'll be doing a full spoiler breakdown and review of Fantastic Four: First Steps. So definitely stay tuned for that, as well as a ranking of all 4 Fantastic Four movies. So also stay tuned for that video. And also, guys, please hit that thumbs up button. It's the best way to help support this channel. So I was definitely very excited. Out of all the Marvel movies, this one for me got me the most excited. I grew up with the Tim Story directed Fantastic Four movies. I have nostalgia for those, but understand how flawed, especially the second film, is in that franchise. And then the 2015 one left such a bad taste in really everyone's mouth, both in front of the camera, behind the camera, and fans of that Fantastic Four film. And they just really haven't nailed it at all in live action in a movie. And it's crazy that it's taken the MCU 17 years into its run to finally introduce the first family of Marvel. And I was very excited for the movie. The trailers definitely worked for me. There were some things I was hearing beforehand which made me feel a little bit more nervous. But I was definitely really excited for this movie. And I gotta say, I really like this movie. I'll just say it, I love this movie. I really do. I know it's a strong word, and I'm not going to give the film. You'll see my rating later in the video. But this was, I think, the best Fantastic Four film I think we can imagine, in my opinion. They did such a great job on multiple levels. Let's start with the director, Matt Shakman, who, again, I love WandaVision. I know the finale wasn't great, but the finale did not kill WandaVision, in my opinion, and his direction style on a show like that really impressed me. And the fact that he took over Fantastic Four got me excited. This film not just takes place in a different universe that is not associated with any of the other MCU characters, it already feels very different than any other MCU film, but it looks different than any other MCU film, as this is very much a retro futuristic world, which is akin to the Jack Kirby 1960s comic book run of Fantastic Four. And it really comes through on screen. And it gives this film just such uniqueness. Marvel, for the last really 5 years, have felt like very similar movies. They've hired some big time directors, but now have been hiring very much indie directors who just take direction from studio heads and writers to make the film, and they kind of just keep the blockbuster superhero thing going, leaving a lot of Marvel films recently feeling bland from a stylistic perspective. This film is a lot of style into its filmmaking, and the production design is immaculate in this movie. And also, again, because it's not associated with the other Marvel films and because it's in its own universe, they have to do a lot of world building as well for this Earth 828. And the film does a fantastic job making this world feel very lived in. And as I said, this movie is also just like, again, Superman a couple weeks ago. This film is thankfully not an origin story for the Fantastic Four. If even the most casual fan of these characters, you know how they got their powers, where they went, what their powers are. And it's weird in a complimentary way. This film at times feels like it's a sequel to the first film, like the intro the film, but it doesn't feel like you're missing that many key essential things. The film feels lived in, the characters feel lived in. Even though it feels like you've already seen the first film, it's such a weird feeling where it feels like you've already seen their origin story because again, you know the actual comic book origin story. So it's a very interesting watch in that way. But the way they use technology and most of the CGI, I think, is really effective here. And that's from a production perspective. Also, Michael Giacchino, who outside of John Williams is my favorite composer of all time. And he composes to me one of his best scores of his career in this film. I cannot wait to listen to the score for years to come. It really elevates this movie and really appreciate it. And again, he's one of the best composers, proves why in this film. What really also helps this movie a lot is the ensemble that they got here. So all four actors are terrific here. Pedro Pascal, even though he's one of my favorite actors of the last 5 years, he was the most nervous one I was when they casted him as Reed Richards. On the page, it wasn't like that seemed like a slam dunk casting, but he's really good here and does a lot of different stuff that it doesn't just feel like another Pedro Pascal performance. Because again, he always has that charm, but he has to be really one of the most worried characters in the whole movie because Reed Richards has all this intelligence, which obviously is a great thing, but it also is a detriment where he has to worry about not just his family, not the people he loves, but the whole world's problems are Reed's problems. And Pascal does a really good job balancing really the charm, the charisma that Reed needs to have, but also just him feeling like an actual human being who goes through good and bad days and worries about people he cares about. Very dynamic character and a very complex performance, which I appreciated. I think the best performance in the film, though, is easily Vanessa Kirby as Invisible Woman Sue Storm. She has to get a lot, she gets most of the emotional weight of this movie. And with what she deals with throughout the entire film, the way that her potential values maybe don't match with her with the earth, her having to come to terms with that, and also having to come to terms with big, big decisions in this movie. And Kirby is really, really terrific in this movie and absolutely delivers on the key emotional points. My favorite casting, though, in the movie is Ebon Moss-Bachrach as the Thing. And I like Michael Chiklis back in the early 2000s as his character. But this to me is perfect casting as Ben Grimm the Thing because it's really the first time when I read the comics, you always got that this intuition, but the films before have never really captured this. He obviously got all these people got really cool superpowers. You know, Sue, Reed, Johnny, but Ben did not. I mean, Ben got powers, but they really hurt him, affected him the most publicly. But in this film, I think it's the first time out of all the Fantastic Four films, you really see the human being Ben Grimm underneath the rock. And I think that most of the other films have really tried for that. But this performance, you really feel like he's Ben Grimm more than the Thing, even though he's rock form for 99% of this movie. They show flashbacks with Ebon Moss-Bachrach, seeing the human Ben Grimm. But you really feel like this is Ben Grimm. And I think most of their films just feel like he's just the Thing in most of the other projects. I really admired the film trying to make sure you really felt the human being under the rock. And then Joseph Quinn also is great as the cocky, hilarious Johnny Storm. And he brings the majority of the comedy in the movie. He's also really good. Julia Garner is very good as Silver Surfer. They gave Silver Surfer a lot more background and importance to the main plot than I was expecting. And as someone again who's a major, major Ozark fan, always happy to see Julia Garner get such great work, and she's very good here. Ralph Ineson's also really good as Galactus, and really the look of Galactus. This is a character that is really tough to pull off in live action. The 2007 film did an awful job adapting Galactus. It's just like a poof cloud in the sky. They go as accurate as they can be for Galactus from the comics, and that could really feel like a cheesy, over-the-top villain, but he feels as one of the most threatening Marvel villains in a while. And they do a really good job from a CGI perspective with that character. And my biggest plus too with the story of this movie is the fact that yes, these have some of the biggest stakes of the MCU because Galactus's goal is to devour this Earth. And Earth is on the line, family members on the line. The stakes are really high for this movie, but the film still makes it feel like it's very grounded and really focusing on the human dynamics of the Fantastic Four and of the world. And it made the film feel a lot more intimate, which is weird to say in a movie that again has such as high stakes as this movie. But the film feels quite intimate. Where a lot of the time we're just at the Baxter Building or at the Fantastic Four building, and we're talking about plans to fix things. And I really enjoyed the fact that it's not really worried, this movie, about having an action scene every 10 or 15 minutes. It's cool letting characters sit down, plot out particular things, have human emotion. And I found that to be really striking and unique to this MCU film. Now, on a negative, there is one major CGI element of the movie that did pull me out of a couple important scenes, especially in the third act. This movie would have been an easy, like, slam dunk, top 6 or 7 MCU movie for me if this was not the case. But I'll explain it more in my spoiler review tomorrow. But I know a lot of people don't watch the trailers, and this CGI thing character is not in this trailer, so I just don't want to spoil that for people who don't watch trailers and just go into movies very blindly. But that you'll know what I'm talking about when you see the movie, but it just completely pulled me out of the movie in a couple sequences. I know why the character needed to be in CGI in particular moments, but it really did pull me out of the movie. And there are uh, interesting side characters in this movie, like a Paul Walter Hauser or Natasha Lyonne, but they feel very one note. And the movie does because, which I like, that it's under 2 hours, but it doesn't really have time to fully develop these other side characters and dynamics. So they're kind of thrown in the movie. They feel thrown in more than important. Like Natasha Lyonne's character, I thought they could have done a lot more with, especially her relationship with Ben, but it's the most one note dynamic that you've seen in every other comic book movie. So I wish they went a little bit more deeper with that. And honestly, from a dynamic in the Fantastic Four, the only part I wanted more of was more Sue and Johnny. They are siblings, and they're a point where at times you wish they got more time showing why they really are siblings and their connection. But other than that, guys, I really loved this Fantastic Four movie. I think Marvel's last 2 films, this and Thunderbolts, have really gotten the Marvel mojo back. And this does, in my opinion, feel like when Marvel was riding on its high, feeling like a good time in the theater, great characters, a fun world. This gets me more excited for the future of the MCU. So overall, I'm giving The Fantastic Four First Steps a 4 out of 5 stars and 84%. What are your thoughts on Fantastic Four First Steps? Let me know down in the comments, like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys very, very soon.